We are here with John Dietz from Concur, and I would like to know a little bit more about you and especially about the company and what it's doing regarding the travel industry.
Great. Hey, I'm John Dietz from Concur. I run platform marketing at Concur. As we take our core T&E product and open it up to traveler services as well as other applications.
And I would like to know what's the main value proposition of your company for the travelers or for the company and the traveler workers.
So Concur's main value proposition is to have an integrated travel and expense experience. Usually our customers range from the top corporations and international corporations of the world, and we provide them a managed travel experience and integrated expenses. Since most of the expenses, which represent a large portion of a company's expenses, are travel, having that integrated experience is key.
I have to say that I was a former user because I'm a juggler, and that Google uses your tool. So I've been entering expenses in your platform for quite a few years. And how do you think the evolution of the travel habits in terms of people deciding to look for themselves the best hotel, the best flight. So what is called and managed business travel is going to affect the travel policies of the company and the way they try to enforce those travel policies.
Yeah, well, at Concur we have this concept of a perfect trip. And so we look at that trip from the beginning, so when you start to book the travel, we examine it like while you're during travel, as well as kind of after travel. So we look at all three segments of that trip, and I think your question surrounded kind of part of that booking in the beginning and how that's changing. So one of the things that we embarked on last year is a industry concept called open booking, which allows air and hotel to be booked either through our managed travel, our booking application, as well as directly with the hotel or directly with air. And our product TravelThink actually brings those bookings back into the managed travel process. So you can book internally and adhere to corporate policies, or book externally and have those brought back in and managed within the product.
Where do you see your company in 5 years?
Where do we see Concur in 5 years? But going back to the perfect trip, I think we're all about having both the best experience for the traveler as well as the best experience for the company and merging those two. And quite often they're not, they're, I guess, a bit competitive in that space. So we will do our best effort to provide features for our travelers and for our corporations. And we're also opening the platform. So features that we don't necessarily build internally or where we won't be best in class in, will allow our customers to use those features seamlessly. So, for example, I think you're ringing. we'll allow an application to access your itinerary, and by accessing, with your permission, an itinerary, they'll have insights on the air you booked, the hotel you're staying. And for instance, an application that may recommend a food option would know exactly that I'm staying at the Westin, what food options are around the Westin. It'll know that for John likes Thai food, so I should probably look for a Thai restaurant. And so when I open that application as a business traveler, it's already tailored to my needs by looking through or by accessing the Concur API.
And there is a lot of talking about the impact that big data is going to have in the travel industry. And clearly, if there are a few companies that are ready to handle big data in that space, obviously Google, Facebook, etc. But Concur is one of these companies. What you have just explained is related to that idea of being capable to know the profile of the travelers and try to custom the experience. Do you think that this is going to be a trend for the whole industry, trying to replicate what in retail has already happened, or there are still time to see that happening?
Well, no, I think going forward, we will make better use of that data. So Concur is unique in that we have a kind of a 360-degree view of that data from your, like you said, from your pre-booking all the way through to exactly what you expense. And from that data, we can tell things like, do you rent a car? Do you take a taxi? Do you take a limo? Where do you eat? What kind of food do you eat? So we have a lot of kind of a great view into that data, and not what people might want to do, but what they actually did. The other thing we know is business travel is quite predictable. So not only do we have the data, but we know that data will predict future behavior fairly well. So with those two pieces of data, we'll both use that internally to make our products better. But in addition, through our API, we announced just last month an Insights API. And the Insights API, the first iteration, tells the developer or an external application what segments you haven't booked. So if you booked hotel and air, maybe car, we'll tell you that, hey, you have not booked a car maybe from the hotel back to the airport at the end of the trip. And so that's kind of our first iteration in exposing that data. And moving forward, we'll use that Insights API, expand it, and share more of that data based on customer permissions, of course, with more applications.
You are more like a technological platform, but you are considering the possibility as well of moving forward on the transactional side and became also a fulfiller of these travel services?
Yeah, I think we play both roles, right? So we fulfill, and I think our job one is to fulfill those traveler services. But, you know, thinking about the perfect trip, your version of the perfect trip may be different than my version of the perfect trip. And so, although we will try to and deliver those core services, we just understand that by taking a platform approach as opposed to building a product approach, that we'll be able to serve a wider variety of customers, both individual customers as well as corporate customers.
I understand that as a global company, you have to tailor-make your value proposition differently for different regions. What are the main differences that you have found in comparison, for example, with North America, Europe, Latin America, and Asia?
Yeah, so you know, on that, in North America, kind of the booking process is often I book, I travel, I expense. However, in Europe and in certain government processes, there's often a pre-booking approval process, and so that workflow within the Concur product can be tailored based on whether there's that pre-approval process and if that pre-approval fits policy or not. And so our workflow, the GDSs who we work with, the suppliers who we work with, that's all customizable.
Thanks a lot, John, for the information, and hope you the best for the company and for you.
I appreciate the time.